It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Somewhere.
Let's have the pledge, what do you say? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Welcome to the September 2nd, 2020 meeting. And as usual, if anybody's here that's got anything that's not on the agenda, the questions, concerns, accolades, we'll take it all.
Got a question for you. What are we gonna do with food again in our?
Well, I have a call in to them, have not heard back from them. My understanding was that it was ended a week earlier because of their, they had a certain number of boxes with USDA and they met that. And then this week was gonna be the week that they normally take off, so I'm assuming that it'll be next Wednesday, a week from today. But again, I've not heard back from them yet, so just as soon as I do, we'll get it on the website and get it on the radio and the paper if we can. And
We assume it's the same company then, or?
yeah, it'll be the same company, McFarland's. There's 4 phases of that. The first 2 phases has been completed now. Each phase runs, I believe it takes weeks. But because of some of the things that was getting hard to get, they've had to reconfigure and come up with another quote for these food boxes. And I think they thought it was going to be accepted, but like oranges, I think instead of oranges, they're going to have to go with apples because the oranges we're getting out of season, and now the apples is coming in, so that instead of getting a bag of oranges, you get a bag of apples, and there were some other things too, but it's going to change up a little bit. But
To go along with that, I just wanna tell you, I've had nothing but praise for that. I've heard nothing but praise. So it's been-
well, I tell you what, it's been a good program, been something very good for this community, and the last and I'm going off of memory here, so bear with me. I think a little over $1.5 million worth of food now has been distributed. I had the total amount, and we're giving away like 60,000 pounds a week. And I have to go back and figure.
About 80,000 a truckload.
What's that? The dollar
The
amount?
invoice is about 80,000.
Actually, it's at, when we upped the cases, it went to 92,500 per truckload. Is what, and we get two semis a week, so we're basically now to about 182,000 or something like that we're giving out every week. So yeah, it's been a good. I think it's been a godsend for a lot of people, you know, been able to, and it's not only one of the things about it. We was talking about that earlier right here. Is during this. You know, it's hard to find some things in the grocery store, and I think they're running into that problem now too, you know, and a lot of things is just no longer being made or whatever for whatever reason. So, all right, thank you, Mike. Anything else?
I can do it at the end or right now. I guess I'll just say it now. I've been contacted by a developer, and I want to bring it in front of the commissioners. I know we can't do anything outside of just hearing it, but Ryan Matthews, actually, the developer out of Chicago. I think one of them's out of Chicago, the other one's out of Tyler, Texas. But they are very interested in purchasing 60 acres behind Tri-Ops, and they're going to buy one of 3 locations, and that's, I guess. He said it's whoever gets to the finish line first with him, but what they're going to do is they're going to develop this in and have a 20-year contract with a company called IAA, which is Insurance Auctions of America or something. They're the largest insurance auction company in the United States, and they have one of these locations in Indianapolis, they have one in Evansville, and he said they wanna get one closer to, the main drag of 65, but, outside of us, from what I'm understanding, that outside of us, selling them the property, they'll do everything else. They'll develop it, put electric, water, sewer, building. It'll be 60 acres of fenced in, chain link fence. And he goes, it's not a junkyard by any means, and I had went out on their website and looked, and he said it's set up just like if you were pulling on a car walk someplace. They line them up, they auction them off, they have an auction one time a week, and then they'll utilize local wrecker services, and I've actually reached out to some people that are in that kind of business, and they know of them, and say they're pretty reputable companies. So as far as employees, I think he's saying somewhere around 35 employees, but as far as, what kind of tax revenue that'd bring, I have no idea, or how many people that would even bring into the community, throughout the week, because he said they do have insurance people that come in and look at cars and plus other dealers, so anyway, just, he's wanting me to he said he could do it, they'd either drive here and be at a meeting, or they could teleconference in, or whichever, but they definitely would like to address the board, so.
Okay. And I hadn't heard about this, and I know Bob had actually was looking into that too, and again, I don't know, you've got a lot more information than what I got on it, but I think it's definitely worth exploring and looking into. I mean, at some point to see. And I think we got, what do we got about, I think the bottom line is on that is, I think whatever we'd sold, probably the property, in my opinion, whatever we've sold the property to Tri-Hawk for would be probably what we would want to receive out of this other. And
I have no idea what that is.
I can't remember right off the top of my head, Mike would have.
I know there's 100, by the GIS numbers, there's 123 acres still left there.
You guys actually have a map of that property because of the mowing bid in your packet there. If you want to take a look down towards the bottom of your packet,
There's a,
there's a Tri-Hawk map, and that's the ground that they farm right now, right?
that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the 60 acres they farm.
Well, yeah, I think you're
Should be
right.
58 acres probably, because
Yeah.
I think.
Taking 2 out for the fire
Yeah.
department.
Yeah, they're looking at the back too, and there's, I think Bob, you said there's some north of Tri-Hawk or that road.
Yeah,
Look on the map there.
I'm trying to, yeah, there it is over here. Cause this is the road, I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly.
I thought that was all wooded.
It is, that part is.
That map is not making sense to me here, just a minute.
No, it's kind of skewed.
Yeah, there's, do you know how many acres, you may know, how many acres is on the north side of the road that goes back to Tri-Hawk there that we cleaned up?
I'm not positive. I'll let you know, yes.
I don't think it's probably 4 or 5 acres over there.
Well, I was told that it's, from the GIS, what's left that we own is 123 acres.
True, and a lot of it is down in that
On the north
floodplain, in north, in that floodplain, the north
But
side.
evidently, they know that there's 60 acres behind Tri-Hawk.
And I think that's
what
probably-
they
that's what
pretty much
they're-
said, 60 acres.
That's what they're looking for. And yeah, and I think it was 60, I think it's probably, like I
It
say.
says 62.73.
Well, there may be 60 left there. I know we, 2 acres of that went to Jennings Township Fire Department. So there might be very well may be the 60 acres there. I think 50 out of 60, there's only probably, I think 50 something of it tillable, isn't that right? Do you remember?
Yes, yes,
And the rest
because
of
there's
it-
that there's a couple of patches in that 60-acre tract that's not tillable.
Yeah.
So does anybody have an idea of what we sold to Tri-Hawk or how much?
I cannot.
Tri-Hawk purchased that first part, and then they had an option to purchase that was good for so many years.
And that
And
was-
right before it expired, they exercised their option to purchase.
And see, and that was one of the things I asked Bob when I first got wind of this thing here, was to look into that. And of course, he's been, under the weather but I don't know does Tri-Hawk have an option now? Did they renew an option on any more
I
property?
don't think they ever extended any
See,
more
that's what I was
options to
wondering.
purchase for
Uh,
them. I don't think so. I'm not aware of any, I'll put it that way.
So I guess.
Mike,
just
I'm
asking
I'm gonna-
if they wanna come in here.
I'm gonna guess, on this, but I almost think it was 10 to 15,000 an acre we sold that to them for, on that industrial park. Does that
I
sound
might
about,
be able to find the sales disclosure on that because it
I-
was to,
I don't know, Marty, you remember anything on that? Does that sound right?
That sounds like you're right there.
I think it was somewhere in that neighborhood, for that, so, I mean, 60 acres, and, you're looking at 600,000. If it was on the low side of that, but I know it was over 10 an acre, 10 or above, I know it was.
Well, like I said, they were very interested and they want to come and present their, what their plans are to the full board. I know I've talked to them, 3 times and they called me again yesterday, so.
What's the name again?
The gentleman I'm talking to, his name's Ryan Matthews, but he's.
The company, Okay.
I'm gonna lie to you if I tell you what their development company is. It's like, starts with a C, but the company, and you can look it up online, the company they trying to lease this property to, and it's a 20-year lease, is IAA, which is, Insurance, Auctions of America, and they're everywhere. So, and you can actually, if you go on their website, you can see pretty much how they set these up, and I know where the one in Indianapolis is, I think on Hardy Avenue or Hardy Street, out by where the landfill is. But I guess it's just busting at the seams. So, but anyway, might be something that, bring us some revenue or tax dollars or.
Mhm. Well, it looks kinda like it would be I don't wanna, just talking about the visibility of it, but it's kinda back behind there. I suppose you might see it off of Boo maybe,
Yeah. Well, I would think they would probably, and they may not, but I would think whoever would buy that would probably actually
develop,
clean that
yeah.
fence row along Boo Road there and then go from there, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's,
So you want me to have them here at the next meeting or?
I think it'd be well worth listening to what their plans are, and I don't you, I mean, I'm
Yeah, I'm
certainly
good.
in favor of that.
I'll have them.
Let's see what they're,
Cause when they first called, I thought, okay, he's just fishing. But when he called second and third time, he said, we're serious here. I mean, they like the close proximity to the interstate. They like that right there in front of Tri-Hawk. The state's already got some pull-off lanes, turning lanes and stuff. And he goes, that would be ideal for us. We wouldn't have wreckers sitting out trying to turn off of a highway. So he goes, everything, what they're looking at is ideal, so.
I guess, and this is a development company.
Yeah, this is.
So I guess one of the questions I would have, and maybe he made reference to it or not, but after 20 years, what happens? At that point, do they,
Well, I mean, I'm sure if they're developers, they're probably gonna continue to find people to occupy space, but that'd be questions that, he'd have with them, but, well, we get asked that time, but like I said,
okay.
he said right now, initial start, they have, what he's telling me, they have a 20-year lease with this company, so.
No.
All right, I'll get a hold of him and tell him,
Yeah, this,
if he wants to drive down here, he can be here at the next meeting.
that'll work. That'll
All right.
work. All right, well,
Sorry, Gene.
let's jump into the agenda here, and first up is the Scott County EDC Fund Ordinance. And Gene, you can come on up.
All right.
Well, Tammy's kind of been my go-to through this whole transition process. And I sent you all a signed MOU with 17 Indiana. I let Wendy know that we were gonna be meeting today, and I suggested that, she come to a future meeting, talk about more of what the specifics are they're gonna be able to offer. I know Matt Hall, has already contacted me, and I think he went ahead and followed through with Roger Hawkins about something in Austin that was a possibility. So even though we hadn't even signed it yet, they were still working on it, so that was a good sign. But what we need to do at this point, according to Tammy, is move forward with an ordinance that you might consider making this official.
And I reached out to State Board of Accounts, and I sent them ordinances from when the EDC was actually formed back in the early 80s, and I've made reference to that in that sample ordinance that you have there, actually the draft ordinance. Those are all the documents that created and bound us to the operation of the EDC that are referenced in the beginning of that ordinance. And the council is the legal Indiana code body that forms economic development corporations. The commissioners had initiated it. Then they realized back in the 80s that the council had to be the body, so that's why it says they ratified, reaffirmed, and again ordained the establishment of the EDC based on the commissioner's desire and then their subsequent legal action to take care of that. Now, State Board of Accounts has informed us, based on the ordinances that I sent them, that they are indeed operable as an entity under county government, and that their funds could be managed through the auditor's office. We could be the fiscal body for them. So this ordinance basically, obviously, if we're going to create a fund for other funds to be receipted and spent through, you have to create the fund. And then council obviously would be then up to them to appropriate. So section 1 says that it would establish a non-reverting fund to be known as Scott County Economic Development Commission Fund, into which shall be deposited funds received from the financial accounts of the EDC and all revenue received on behalf of the commission as of September 18th, 2020. So that's in your ordinance there at the bottom on section 1. So that's when Gene kind of tentatively anticipated that they could have their checking account, all the invoices and things paid up to date, and then us move that balance over into the county's fund system, and then be able to run through the claim system. The claims would be sent through. Their board would give pre-approval like a department head, and then you all would have them in your regular claims disbursements when the monthly claims. Then again, the expenses, we have to outline how they can be spent, and it would be for contracts, consultation services, supplies, financial services, and other miscellaneous expenses. It is not for personnel. So this is just basically their rudimentary functions that they need to, while they're under contract with another marketing agency, to perform the duties that the personnel used to of EDC.
And that's any money we have now, existing funds will go into that.
Right, and truthfully, no checks have been written, or do I think are gonna be written, from the last day of their existence, when Anita was still there. So they'll probably go for 6 weeks, 2 months without any checks being written out, with the only check being written to county government to transfer the funds over. Now, there's still some obligations, some grants, dollars that are still in the fund that may end up need to go to specifics if certain tasks are carried out. If they're not, may have to pay them back, may not. We're not real sure at this point because of COVID. It kind of has changed things. But for the most part, and the city has paid out 2 bills that the county will have to reimburse at some point. They're not, maybe 2,000 something for one and 400 for another. And there's adequate funds in there too. But the city's already, I guess they were committing $65,000 a year to the operation of EDC, just like county government was. The city did put in $16,250 for the first quarter, January through March. The county, as you know, hasn't put any dollars in there yet, and that's fine. So, and I think I've shared with some of you, there has to be an audit done for 2018, 19, and 20. Blue and Company has done the audits in the past. I would recommend, and I think our board would recommend, that we continue letting them do the remaining. They want to charge $36,000 to do those. I know, and Mike Gracious has been my contact person. The board's never dealt with any of this before. Honestly, I know my program alone, what I do with my federal government program, we pay about $10,000 a year for an audit, and that's in a $1.8 million budget. So I don't think that's too out of line what he was suggesting. And truthfully, I think for continuity purposes and historical purposes, it'd be best to stay with Blue and Company just through the end of 2019. And I was suggesting to just be through the period where EDC was still in operation through the end of July.
I think for the
Does that make
county,
sense?
and then for the county's audit purposes, you know, we're way over 20,000, sometimes it's 27, 29,000, just for the regular audit side for our budget, and then the federal's an additional on top of that. So
Right.
I don't think those are probably out of line. And to tell you what I was sent back from Lori Rogers, who is with State Board of Accounts, she said, based on the ordinance you provided, the Economic Development Commission is a department of the county, and they could have an operating budget from the county. Any economic development funds would be included on the county's fund ledger, so yes, you assist with the bookkeeping and treat them as a department of the county.
I also asked Terry, as the mayor of Scottsburg, that the audit be split equally between the city and county, since those years of operation were under both entities. They seem agreeable to that, but we do need to be
For
sensitive.
the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. But we do need to be sensitive to, they've already put in some dollars already, but that can all be worked out later. But I think there's total agreement on that end too.
So how much money's still in the accounts?
There's about $33,000 there right now, but honestly, about 30,000 of it is really encumbered already, depending if they carry out some grant activity.
And you said some of the grant money they've already received, and but they haven't.
They have to carry out activities and tasks, and if they don't, they may have to pay it back, they may not. I think we should just always know, and we'll document all that. There's a possibility of them coming back wanting reimbursement if those services aren't carried out.
So technically, we're gonna spend more to audit less than what we had.
Right, but as you know, the county, I know, it's not been, I'm trying to make it as clean as possible during the transition period. It's just presented some challenges, which are no surprise.
That's fine.
So, with that, going along with what he said there, with the $30,000, you said most of it is already.
Yeah, spoken for,
Is that including the payment to, Southern Indiana, on Southern Indiana?
No.
So
That
that
would be
was
an
on,
additional
and that was,
20,
additional 20 on there, and then, I guess the 30,000 or 30-some thousand that you're talking about is the city's money's already encumbered into that?
Yes, the
That
city
they
already
put
put in
in-
16,000 and with no
Okay.
plans to put anything more in at this point,
Okay.
until we talk about
Okay.
audit costs.
But again, I think we were putting 65 per year, and then that was gonna go to 85, is that correct?
20,000 of that was commitment to the robotics program,
Uh-huh.
Which we paid that, didn't we?
which, well, we haven't received our invoice for that yet.
Okay.
So the 65,000,
It's still
and this is,
committed.
and this here is
Still
basically,
budgeted for that
yeah,
account, okay.
and the money's been budgeted for the
Up to
65.
65,000 for contract
So-
for the EDC.
And
So-
this here is basically, through, June the 31st of, or August, when is?
Okay, you mean the MOU that was
Ye-
August
yeah.
1st through July 31st?
July
And
31st.
so not all 20,000 would need to be encumbered
Yeah.
in this fiscal year.
But, until we, decide how we wanna do that as far as the EDC, and it may be something that we want them to do, and we may wanna, but we do have the opportunity to look at it and go back and say, well, we want our own
Right.
economic development person. So, yeah, I'm good with that. Did you send this to Houston's office?
Houston has not looked at that. I just
Okay.
started communicating with him today, so
Okay.
he has not seen that. So we,
So the 20,000 we owe them will come out of that 65,000?
basically, yes, that's how we can work
Yeah.
that, because we
Yeah.
we were committed to 60, we had budgeted for 65, but now things have changed, and so we have sufficient funds budgeted for
Yeah.
economic development.
And as I said, not all that 20,000 needs to go to this year. It could be charged for next year too, so. And I think I've told, I can't remember if I emailed you all this or not, but I strongly recommend that a serving commissioner be the representative for the commissioners on the future, the EDC board in the future, especially since you're gonna be so active in deciding the future of economic development in this community. I've been fine serving as your liaison. You've all been so great to communicate with, that you all need to be actively involved in decision-making at this point.
Okay. All right.
So you need us to vote on this then?
If you feel so inclined, or if you'd rather,
I think it just says
We need-
Bob's the one who needs to sign it, we just have to agree with it, isn't that correct?
you all sign.
The ordinance we all signed,
Okay.
and the agreement with One Southern Indiana, I think it's just one.
And this is just a basic funds creation. It's just creating a fund here. If you guys created the fund and it never was used, it's a moot point. You're just giving us leeway to, as things progress, move monies over into a fund and let council start appropriating.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I think Wendy will start attending the meeting every now and then.
Whatever you want. And I'll be happy to come to the next meeting here whenever she can get on this agenda. They've been nothing but pleasant to work with, and they know Scott County well. They're gonna hit you up for another membership that apparently Scott County has not participated in this year, that all the other counties they're representing, are contributing to, and we just didn't make commitments, so, but just, that's just part of it.
Gene, I appreciate all the work you've done.
Well,
I think you ought to stay right
Do
where
you
you
know,
are.
do you want to vote on this?
Gene won't be
I
staying.
think
Both
both
of
of them actually to
Okay.
ratify their contract, since we're kind of moving to the county side. I figured we might want to accept their contract with MOU, the MOU with One Southern, and then also adopt the funds creation ordinance.
So we can do them both at once if you like. Any questions on your part, Mike?
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Mike makes a motion to accept the ordinance and also the MOU with One Southern Indiana. Second?
And I'll second the motion to vote in favor of both of them.
Okay, I'll make that unanimous. As these are copies here.
If you don't mind, yes, just sign a couple of those ordinances and just two copies of the MOU, if you don't mind, just, I can give you an extra. I've got her original here, I'll get you to sign, and have a signed copy for me. I'm just having them sign that
Perfect,
too, if you
perfect.
don't mind.
Something to get through.
And then I'll have you sign that one, Bob, and I'll give that one back to Jean. And I'll take your signed copy, I'll take that one. You just want this one? You can have that one.
Thank you.
And that way I can give Jean an
You
ordinance.
got one already?
Yeah.
Go ahead and sign one.
Yeah,
You
I
want
got
two?
one.
You
Yeah, I'll
sign
take
one?
two. I'll
Yeah,
take
she wants two of them, so just either one of them, I'll
You want me to
sign.
sign this?
Yeah, you sign that one, then I'll send you this one and sign it.
Wendy is wanting to meet with the board later this month. We haven't confirmed a date. I'll share with you when it is. They want to have a feel for what we as a community would view as a success. At, like quarterly benchmarks, what we're looking for.
Just me personally, I'd prefer to hold it off to October, because there's a decent chance I won't be here.
Okay. All right.
But that's what everybody wants to do, they can do it without me, but,
Okay, we've had a heck of a time trying to get this thing organized. Even if you just provide me feedback with what you're looking for success benchmarkers, I'll go ahead and contribute that in the conversation.
and I assume they have meetings we can go to too, don't they?
We haven't been invited to anything yet. I don't know how they're gonna do that. They plan on keeping the EDC board for Scott County separate from the others, but there could be a bigger organization that we could be part of if we choose
They
to.
surely meet somewhere or do something.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I've been on
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken. Same group.
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next up is Health Department update.
Okay, we'll try to be quick.
Good luck on that.
I know, right? So first off is just our updated COVID information. As of today, the state started a new reporting system, not system, but I guess color-coded graph is what you would call it. So blue is good. Yellow is moderate, so like, you know, like kind of looking at things in your community. Orange is when you would start to be concerned, and then red counties, you want to look at like making your schools go virtual, shutting down big events, those sort of stuff. So we're in the blue, which is good. We have a total positivity rate from the last 7 days of 1%, so that's good. That's really good. We've done about 4,500 tests in Scott County.
You say 3,500?
4,500, that, in that box there, 4,458.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yep. As you can see on the graph on the top right-hand side, around July 18th, we saw our biggest spike. That's due to 4th of July. So as the holiday comes up this weekend, we'll probably see a similar spike in about 2 weeks from now. So that was the week we had like, I think 34 cases.
So out of the 4,500, are those, what determines what you're saying is tested? Is that,
That's a test submitted to the count, like to
so
the
that could be
state.
like a hospital did it and the
The
person lives in
hospital-
Scott County and,
It's done in Scott County, so that's any doctor that's done a test in Scott County, any, the armory site, the
Okay.
hospital.
so anything within Scott County is the 4458.
Yes. Yep.
But cases could technically be
They could have got tested at
tested
Floyd,
somewhere else.
Kentucky.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right,
Yep.
so that's, okay.
Tests are people, positive cases are people that have a zip code or address that live in Scott County.
What is our overall rating, I guess, out of the 92 counties as far as,
Percentage.
So our number is a 0.8 on this new scale. So like you can see, the box kind of prohibits the other views,
Yeah.
but like I think everyone around us is blue except Jennings is yellow, and I think Jackson is also yellow. But of those numbers, so we're a 0.8%, and so you have to get all the way up to over 5 to be in the yellow. So we're pretty low.
okay.
And as you guys know, like our cases haven't increased. We've only had, what, 3 new cases this week, so.
And those numbers are per county, not necessarily per population, is that correct?
It's based on a per population, like the percentage is based on per population, but, they make it so like the denominator is equal to all counties, because obviously
Yeah,
our county isn't gonna have the same denominator as Marion's
I was
County.
just going on, I know.
They
Clark-
just released this whole color coding thing today,
Well, I
so,
knew Clark and Floyd's numbers are in the yellow,
right.
but I thought for population wise, we were not that far off.
But, oh, you said we're at 8%?
0.8.
Point
Point.
0.8. And so as you can see down here in the legend, under 5% is blue, which is what your best is.
So this is a good
It's
thing.
really
So we're
confusing.
not even at 1%.
Huh?
We're not even at the
Right,
1%.
yes.
So, yeah. we're-
This week.
Yeah.
Right now.
True,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it can change daily, but yes.
So this is good news, correct?
Mhm, yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah.
what I'm, way I'm
Good
saying.
news, yes, yes. Yeah, even some of the bigger counties that are in blue, like the one up there at the top is 0.3. But everyone else
I
has,
have a
you know,
question.
yes.
It shows here 10 deaths. I thought we had 12.
So we have 12, and there are some that are clinical that were counted. So clinical
Okay.
would be that they were tested and negative, but based off like a chest
The doctor-
X-ray,
the
or
doctor
yes,
decided they were,
or they weren't able to be tested and they had similar COVID
All right, I got a question about that, so.
Okay.
And this comes from the CDC, is made the local, or not local news, national
Yes.
news, but,
The
who's
6%?
yeah, who's determining, and I mean, and I'll go back to when I was a funeral director.
Mm-hmm.
That was during, the AIDS epidemic, and
yeah.
everybody was, you know, I was picking bodies up, and nobody knew if that person died of AIDS or they died of whatever.
Right.
Because the families would give it to the doctor and say, hey, we don't want you to put AIDS cause of death on
Right.
the death certificate, so they put, of course, they died of pneumonia or heart
Yes,
failure
they
or
did.
whatever.
Yes,
And that's what they put on the death certificate.
yes.
I'm asking, I guess, is the CDC kinda got caught in that to where the death certificates are naming a bunch of things that could be something that had contributed to the death, but because one of the things besides cancer, heart failure, lung failure, diabetes, or anything else, that's a contributing factor, and so they pull that death out and say, well, it's COVID.
So in order for it to be a COVID death, in that statistic, COVID would have to be one of the deaths. So like a lot of ours say like COVID, but then it'll say respiratory failure, which, because they've had respiratory failure. If they do have end-stage, kidney disease, it's gonna say renal failure on there too. Really, any death certificate is not gonna have one single cause of death unless it's like sudden cardiac arrest.
Okay.
Because that's your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all gonna say pneumonia, respiratory distress,
But
sepsis.
But who's determining that death
That's the
is COVID?
physician. So the physician, most of the time when it's noted on the death certificate like that, they've had a positive case, or like it'll say suspected COVID, and then like in the notes you can see that it'll say like based off of pneumonia and X-ray similar to COVID lung or
But
something
if
like that.
someone is reporting or creating a report
The death certificate.
off of a death certificate,
Yes.
are they, is that one person in multiple categories because they died of heart failure or because they had a heart disease
I don't.
and they also had
know.
COVID? But I mean, who's determining that it's a COVID death?
I don't know.
Technically,
I
it's
think
not.
so. What you're asking is like if someone died from respiratory failure and COVID, would they be counted as COVID and a respiratory
That's
failure?
correct.
I don't know that answer. I just know that in that instance they would be noted as a comorbidity death of COVID.
Okay,
So
what-
COVID and then respiratory
Well,
failure.
everybody's gonna die of respiratory failure because you're gonna
Well,
quit
I mean-
breathing. But if you had cancer, and if you had cancer and you also, at the end of your life, had COVID, did you die of cancer or did you
The
die of
cancer would be
COVID?
listed on that death certificate
I know, but somebody's reporting it.
because they had a positive COVID test.
I understand that, but
I guess I don't understand your question.
But just like the CDC came out and said, okay, on 180,000 people that supposedly died of COVID, 6% of them,
Yes,
you
only
know,
had
only had
COVID
the
as they're
COVID showing.
listed.
That's correct.
So on a death certificate, and I wish I would have brought one with me, there's 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least. And it will say, usually they list the first one as being the primary cause. So if somebody is on a ventilator, not able to breathe, and they die of COVID and they've tested positive, it'll say COVID, and then it'll say pneumonia, respiratory distress, and then if they have some sort of chronic disease like cancer or renal, whatever, it'll list that on there too. But my interpretation of that 6% is that they only have, of those 4 lines that you can put a cause of death, COVID is the only one on there. So they didn't list the comorbidity.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I
That's
don't-
where I'm trying
If
to
I'm
get
not
at,
understanding
is
your question, I'm
that-
sorry.
No, you're fine. You are. I mean, I was just trying to determine, because I've seen the death certificates, and I mean, they
Yeah.
used to, and I know what they used to do, and
Yeah.
what they used to not do.
Yeah,
And I was just trying to get that.
well, just like your AIDS
clear figure.
example,
But in our 10 or 12 or 10 deaths technically, because
Yeah.
you see 2 of them are clinical. And
right.
so
They've
out
all-
of those 10, did they all have outlining
They all have
factors?
a comorbidity, yes.
Okay.
And you guys know that, like we've
Yeah, I
announced
know.
how many nursing home deaths, like
Yeah.
people in a nursing home are not healthy people in
Yeah.
generally speaking. So for people to think like that's a surprising fact, like,
Yeah.
I know. We're almost done. Okay, Do you guys have any other questions?
No.
Kids
Okay.
all good?
So on to our, permission, it's an email from Dave McCormick. He is from the Indiana State Department of Health, or Indiana Department of Health, I should say, they took out state. They, need a parking lot to do the next phase of the research testing. So they'll bring the National Guard bus in. They did it at Walmart last time. And so they're just asking if they can use a parking lot, which of all those criteria they need, our parking lot seems pretty ideal. So I just need your permission to use that, our parking lot for their stuff for the week of October 28th, please.
Actually, it's September, isn't it?
September, sorry, September 28th through
September
October
29th through October the 1st, is that right? Is that what I'm reading here?
So they wanna see how it's migrating, in other words, how it's moving through the state, is that what that means?
Yeah, that's the one where they just randomly select people throughout the state, and then they do a nasal swab and a blood test to see if you have antibodies or if you are currently infected, so they can have a better idea of like how many people may have already gotten COVID and not thought it was allergies or
Okay.
a cold or something like that. So this
I'm
is,
okay
I think
with
this is the third wave of testing they're doing throughout the state.
You need a vote on that, or just a general agreement?
I can just write consensus.
I don't have a problem with it, yeah, okay.
And then the next one is a renewal contract for our billboards, which we've had for several years now. Total cost is $8,150. In our grant, we have over 9,200. So that's where
Yeah,
it's
that
at.
sounded better.
And then we usually just do things about immunizations, like this is one. This is not one. I know you guys like the pictures.
Okay.
So, just promoting immunizations on our billboards.
All right, again, they've got the money in the budget to do that. The 90, what'd you say, 8,500
It's
roughly?
8,150.
Okay.
That's just for signs and
Just
whatnot.
for billboards that they
Yeah.
put out for,
Yeah.
Put
out
'em
their
up, make
immunizations
them.
and stuff,
Yeah.
so.
For a year.
I
It'll
do
be
have
October.
a question about the Narcan
Yes.
billboard, since I got multiple phone calls this week about it.
They've been
Um,
up for a year. This is what this
oh, I
is
know.
replacing.
I
Okay.
know. But and that's why I thought it's been up, but,
Yes.
man, I'll just, never mind.
Okay.
But it's being replaced.
Yes. But those were paid for grants
I-
specifically about overdoses. Okay. And yeah, that's funny, because literally this one is a renewal for those two billboards, the one out by, Lexington, or by Independent Schools, and then one by Walmart.
Yeah, by the fish house.
Very observant, whoever called you. I said they're very observant, whoever called you.
Oh, I
They're a year late.
know, yeah, slow but sure.
All right, do I hear a motion to allow them to,
Do you ever have an option to pick which ones you're getting?
Yeah. Some of it's availability, like that one at Walmart was like luck. Usually we don't get a good spot like that. We always get the
I'm
ones out by.
talking about what goes on the billboards.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
all right, motion been made to allow continue with the billboard. Second,
I'll second it.
unanimous. What do you need here? Anything
A
from me?
signature on all the yellow parts and then the initials at the bottom of the page from
Signature
you,
from
Bob.
Bob,
Yes,
just from
please.
Bob, okay. Well, you rate, don't you?
So you have any idea what you're putting up?
Probably something like this. Just about immunizations.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, and then
What is it, let me see.
immunizations.
That sounds good.
So that's about
I guess
HPV.
I was trying to get away from the Narcan.
Oh, yeah, no, this is our immunization grant, so they have to be about
The drug thing.
immunization.
What?
So you're ready to go home, huh? I did email them, but we can make it public. The council approved, I think I told you guys in email, $25,000 worth of renovations at the old health department to come out of hospital reserve. that we will hopefully get reimbursed for through FEMA or CARES, because it is gonna be a COVID testing site. So,
When you gonna be up and ready?
October 1st. Josh has already got all the, floors ripped out, he's bought some paint. Jerry has been gracious enough and let all the inmates come over, and we've torn out the landscape, they help with the floors. We're saving a lot of money in labor by them helping us.
Anybody get poison ivy?
No, we killed it before they.
Try to spray it first.
Yes.
All
Talk
right.
like grandpa.
Mhm.
Do we even need a motion on that to,
And then also, I was gonna tell you, I got the, grant application,
The
the contract,
contract?
yes, to
Perfect.
sign. So do you guys wanna make a motion to allow me to sign that grant contract for that,
$100,000?
$100,000?
That's a lot, that's kind of short of that 43 million, but, we did.
I thought we did do
You
it.
should talk
I
to
thought
your,
we
you
did.
did.
We did find out where a lot of, maybe 43 million's going to.
Okay.
There's a new Optum place going in down at Charleston Road in New Albany that's kind of like a convenient care place down there. So we kind of,
At the old hospital?
no, it's actually, yeah, it is, yeah, I guess it is.
It's under construction.
Under construction.
Really?
yeah.
So an Optum testing
It's
site
a-
there?
It's not an Optum testing site, it's an Optum
Health services.
Health Services building.
Really?
So, we kind of figured out maybe where that 43 million's going to. Part of it anyway.
There you go.
So anyway, but yeah, did we sign that last time? I thought we
You
did.
did, you signed it for Patty.
We did.
Okay, all
Patty was
right,
here.
okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, then I'm good to sign it then. I'm
Yeah,
good to
you're
go
good.
with it. Okay,
Yeah, you're
that's all I need.
You're good, yeah. All right. The only question I've gotten, again, I
Yes.
don't know, I do wish that there was some way that, they could speed this up on getting the results back on them tests. I mean,
Like we
it's-
had, one of Jerry's officers tested on Monday at the Armory, and they got their results back this morning. People just have to, if you haven't gotten a result back in 3 days, like call. Like, we're not gonna call you and tell you.
But
So if you
don't-
We
don't-
aren't.
if
The
you don't get
Optum
a
site
call, then-
does.
If you don't get a call, then you're negative. technically.
Not really. Not
Well,
really.
More,
You-
more than likely, but if you, like, if you need proof of a result, if you need your result, like, call us, like,
Well, my
we
mother,
can't babysit the whole county, you
my
know what I
mother's in
mean?
the hospital, got tested twice and never got a call whether
That's
she
what I
was
was gonna say,
positive or
those
negative.
tests aren't conclusive, are they? They're just a
75%.
lot, I mean,
Yeah.
so they still should get the 10 or whatever days.
Depends. If they have a doctor's note saying that they can go back, they can go back.
Okay. As long as the doctor says it, even though that.
Unless
may-
they've been in contact with someone who is already positive and then they're sick, then they do the 10 days.
So,
If you just randomly woke up tomorrow and you're sick, and you go and get tested and you're negative, and your doctor says you're fine to go back after you've been fever-free for 24 hours, you can go back. But if you were, if your wife was positive and then you woke up sick and you still test negative, like, you still have to,
well, I
Be
know a lot of people
home
think
for-
these 15-minute tests means they're okay, and it,
yeah,
not sure if it is or not.
yeah.
It
There's
is.
there's, like Mike said, 30%
Okay.
chance of false negative, so.
Criteria is so far out there, cause I mean, sometimes every case is different. I mean,
Yeah.
and I hear, cause 3 days fever-free and 10 days symptom-free. And then sometimes it's like, nope, you can go back to work.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's like playing bingo. I mean, which one are you gonna draw out today?
Yeah.
So is the new,
Yeah.
It's changed frequently, but.
is the new guidelines that if somebody sent, and I'll go with whether it's in the workforce or whether it's in the school systems, if somebody has symptoms, they are sent, and anybody that's been in contact with them, are they quarantined at that point? Because if they've been around somebody with the symptoms, or is it has to be?
If they
a
just have
positive-
symptoms, not necessarily. If they have like common symptoms, like they have a cough or a sore throat, we're gonna either wait for a test result to come back or wait for a physician to say, But if they have like lost their taste of smell, which is very specific to COVID, then we're gonna be proactive and probably quarantine people right away.
So who's making that call? Who is, So like every person that, say a factory or in the school system, if somebody shows some kind of symptoms,
I don't say factory, every person in the school system.
if they show,
it's questionable to be COVID, we get a call from the school nurse.
okay.
Just from looking at this map, I don't see anybody lower than this on this map.
Yeah. I think there's one county down at the very bottom that has 0.
So we must be doing something right.
Yeah, thank you.
I do.
This is his new thing.
I mean,
Sorry.
again, and I think that, I think people are taking it serious, and they need to take it serious, This is that what I?
That's
Yeah,
yours,
thi-
Vicki?
No, I think this one I signed for you, correct?
Oh, is that my
Yes.
contract?
I am gonna keep the top sheet, can I do
That's
that?
fine. Yep.
And this is what you need here, that's your signed
Thank you.
copy there. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on your part?
I think I'm good.
All right.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you
All right,
guys.
thank you.
Got a good kid there. He did pretty good, I tell you, really.
Not terrible.
All right, Sheriff's Department.
Now, this one won't have very
Now,
well.
we didn't have no whining or no crying, so let's just leave it there.
Well, we're okay with the kids, but what comes afterwards, I don't know.
That's some, I just need you to sign, those are stuff we've already got, that we gotta get the titles for you guys, put them in your guys' names. They're already signed on the back.
Okay.
We got them from Tammy today, actually. I've only got one thing. The Scott County Council was gracious enough to work out a deal with us, the sheriff's office. Our cars are coming up for the rotation. It's every 4 years. But what we're gonna do is, and I got the money from the council, I'm gonna go ahead and pay off the rotation this year. I'm gonna pay it out of my money. And then that way we can start with some new cars moving forward. So that money has already been allocated by the council. I just need to get your agreement. I've got two different agreements here. One of them's a 48 and one's a 60, and we will pay them annually. The 48 month is 32,610 a year, and the 60 month is 26,705 a year. We want to go ahead and because we're already, that's the amount of money that's been allotted. It's around 34,000 from the council every year. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to buy 2 new trucks and a new Durango. They have them in stock at John Jones. So I just need your approval.
4-year lease agreement then.
Yeah, 4 year, yeah. And
So what do we
also,
got now? What's the agreement, how many years? we got?
it's 4. Yeah, it's coming off. Yeah, I'm paying it off, so. One thing that I did want to mention to you is that the prosecutor's office contacted me and they said that they're only going to give us $2,000 a piece for those cars that we've got. And they're, in pretty rough shape. So I'd spoke to you guys and said that I don't want to give them cars away to them, you know what I'm saying? So we'll put them in the county auction. I mean, I think we can get more money out of the county auction with them. But since then, I'd been contacted by the prosecutor's office and he wanted to know if he could have 2 of them for his office to use. I said, that's totally up to the commissioners. I don't care, you know what I'm saying, whatever they decide. If they want you to do that, then be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, I'm
So,
okay with it. I am okay with it.
What would they use? I mean,
Well, I know the prosecutor, he's got, Mike Schulen needs a car, but I mean, I know that's the one we've been talking about when we
Yeah.
were talking about cars, but I don't know where the other one. Maybe it's where they travel to other.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't ask him because it wasn't really none of my business, you know what I'm saying? I just told him I would mention it to you guys and then if they said it was okay, that's
well,
perfectly fine with me, so.
that's,
We don't really need to do anything, do we? Just-
we don't need to do anything on that right tonight, I don't think.
Well, they belong to you anyway, so
Yeah,
all you gotta do is give them to him if he
yeah,
wants
Give him
them, so.
authority to
Yeah.
use them in his department.
So you're talking,
It'll be 3 Chargers, yeah.
He was always concerned about the gas issues. Every time I ever talked about it, I suppose we got that worked out, how he's gonna pay for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
his issue, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't wanna delve into his business, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't none of my business, so. And that's all I've got, guys, actually. So,
You sure?
I think it's it, yeah. Josh Dignan said he'd have us rolling and going on our dumpsters starting October the 1st. We'll be using City of Scottsburg instead of Rumpke, so that's just another thing going. But other than that, we're good. Unless you guys got anything for me?
Actually, yeah, I'll get one thing here and while you're here. And you talked about this the other day, the gun auction for, that they give you a court order on to sell them. You know, I'm still in the mindset that I thought about doing that, maybe, at the Mid-American Science Park, but I think the mindset is I think we're gonna do that outdoors. So I'm thinking either, the John Jones property or, the fairgrounds, whichever one is, gonna be, more available, I guess. That's what I think, just because of the COVID, I think people's more comfortable being outdoors than they are indoors with it right now. So, and I'm thinking maybe about, we can pick a couple of dates here, but, probably, just because it is nothing but, the firearms part of it, I'm thinking maybe, doing it on a Sunday afternoon, starting it at 1 o'clock on September the 27th, if that works out.
Okay, 1 o'clock. And does it matter where I mean, the only thing that worries me is if it's pouring rain or something like that, then we may get people not gonna come. But you're the professional, so you just tell us what you think you need. We need to do.
If it winds up, you know, that's what we'll look at. If it looks like it's gonna be a rain situation, then you would normally put tents up anyway. So
Okay.
we can put tents up and be fine. I
Okay,
think to
good
go
deal.
ahead and go right ahead and do it right there.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you want us to put the gold in there too? Because we had the gold, or you want us to save that for the county auction?
You know, I'll tell you what, I think we could probably do that the same day.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
Gold
we
and
could.
guns.
Yeah, yeah.
Precious metals, because there may be some
Precious, yeah.
silver stuff in there
Yeah,
too.
I think we can do that the same day
Where
there.
you got some bricks over
So. I wished. Yeah.
Half a Fort Knox. No, some of the stuff that had been confiscated and stuff.
It's all from our evidence. We're caught up on that, so we want to have an auction. I think he said I'm pretty sure he told me close to 200 guns, and maybe he mentioned it to you too.
Yeah.
So around
That-
200
that's what it
guns,
said,
so
yeah.
that's a pretty good amount, you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah,
Now, we destroyed some of them. There was some stuff that's illegal, like sawed-off shotguns.
Yeah.
We destroyed them. There was 3 or 4 of them. They're legal now in Indiana, but you have to have permits and different things. And we didn't feel like they were safe, operational, so we destroyed those by the court order. So.
yeah, that's fine, that's fine. All
So,
right.
when you do that, they just go back in the commissary or what?
No, it'll go back. It'll go to the state, the sheriff's auction fund we
Oh,
have.
we
So.
got that, okay.
Yeah, so. And then you asked me about the last, what them cars were on, 60 or 48. I'm not sure what they were on, but the reason why is because we're paying it off early.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, so.
Fine.
It didn't matter.
Sooner
It was
the-
the last year, you know what I'm
Actually,
saying?
the sooner the better, as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. But
Just to clarify on the guns, most of these guns are probably, all of these guns are confiscated guns. They're not something that was used in a crime, correct?
They could have been used in a crime. Yeah, but what we have done is that in those cases where that they were a victim of violence was involved, then those guns are being destroyed. Whether it was self-inflicted or if it
Yeah,
was,
that's what I was getting at.
yeah. So, yeah, we're destroying
I
those.
just don't want people thinking we're out here selling something that was in a
I get it, yeah.
pretty horrendous
Yeah,
case,
yeah,
so.
right, yeah, anything that's involved, you know what I'm saying, in those
Yeah.
bodily injury crimes, then we're destroying those. They're not gonna be
And
sold.
whoever buys them, I assume has to have a permit and all those kind of.
It'll be regular gun show
Yeah.
rules, and I think Bob,
Yeah,
he knows
it's,
that, so.
Any,
I just wanna clarify that, cause I didn't want people thinking. that
Yeah,
we were
right, yeah.
selling-
Yeah, absolutely. These are guns been abandoned, or they were, like, we get a lot of weapons that insurance companies pay for, so then the person who has them stole from are not the victim anymore. So it's the insurance company says, I don't want them,
They've
just keep
all-
them.
Or the other is that you pull somebody over and they have a weapon in
Yeah,
the
I
car
think
that
that's
they're
what
not
you
supposed
need
to
to
have.
Yeah.
That weapon gets seized.
Yeah.
That,
So-
And
absolutely.
they've all been, serial numbers are on them.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we've done all the legwork on them, you know what I'm saying, so.
Yeah.
what, yeah, what we'll do on that is, long guns, which is no big deal. You can choose to do them, but long guns, you don't have to do a background check on. on all handguns, there will be a federal background check done on them. And I also, I wouldn't think they'd show up, but you never know. I always do actually a form to help, just covers me too, that says that, you know, under the, perjury, that if you're not a convicted felon when you buy one of them guns, and they all sign that if they buy a gun. So, you know, we've got that lined out to do the gun
Probably a
checks.
crime if they do.
Yeah, yeah, and, so at that point, it's no big deal really.
Okay.
It'll work.
Let me ask you this too, and I've asked, and tell me what you want me to do. All the stuff we were moving down to John Jones for the county auction, is there, you may just keep putting it down there, or what you want it to go somewhere else? What do you think?
You know, I'll tell you what, and what you're moving down there was,
We got office equipment, we got everything, it's office equipment, and also, like all the stuff from here that's going into the auction it's down there too. It's all, everything's being stored for the county auction has been moved down there from
Just me,
across the
I'd move
board.
any vehicles you had down there. Just so I mean, just a lot of times, if, like, you got something going on here with the health department, it just might be in the way. And,
one of the things.
and plus they can be, in the middle of the night, somebody come back and strip them out if they want to.
One of the things I was thinking about on that, just looking at this, was, I think, Jill, you probably got the majority of the stuff that's going in that auction, is that correct? And we've done them at the county highway before, it may be even just good just to take it to the county highway and store it down there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And
When
that-
it's time,
Huh?
when it's time.
It's
not-
getting it's getting time.
Yeah, well,
So, you know, and we'll come back and probably the 1st of November, or the first week or 2 of November or October, and try to do the county auction down there just as quick as we can, so.
So do you want me to move them down there now? That's what I'm getting
I
at.
think anything that you got, that's gonna be going down there, I would say by the end of the month, you could
Okay.
start moving it in.
Okay.
I think you could live with it a week or two.
Just because we're not done paving.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that, but I think we could live with that.
There's also 2 vehicles in the.
Impound lot?
Yeah, can those go, or?
No, those are actually
Oh,
crime,
okay.
involving crimes,
Okay.
so,
Not to the prosecutor, really.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Okay.
You can get that crane down there, can't you?
Actually, no deal on
You got a deal on it already?
it. I got with you on it.
If you'll go ahead and give me the approval on the cars, I'll leave you guys alone.
Oh, yeah, do I hear a motion to allow, on got off track there, for him to purchase the 3 new vehicles? No, motion made by John, seconded by Mike, I'll make it unanimous.
Okay.
So you're good to go on that.
And what we'll do is I'll tell, our guy to go ahead and pick out the 2 best cars, and we'll go ahead and strip them, and we can give them to you guys, and then you decide what you wanna do with them. The 3rd one we'll strip, and we'll put it in the county auction.
Okay.
Sound okay
Yeah, that sounds
for
fine.
that? Okay.
That sounds fine.
All right. Thank you, fellas.
Maybe parts on some of them you want, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. So, you guys got any questions for me?
No, not at this moment, I don't think.
Okay.
I meet with Mike Friday, I think, and we'll start
Okay.
getting that all ready to go there.
Good deal.
So we're moving forward as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
If you guys need anything, let me know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Highway Department, Jill, come on up.
Want the good news first or the bad news?
Let's hit the bad, then we'll get better as we
I
go.
like what you're saying. There was a company that did not get permission to bore under the road in Lexington this afternoon on Mulberry Street by the school and actually hit the school's gas line. Very, very lucky that no one got hurt. I've talked to their supervisor, which is not local. They've shut the road down for tonight. No buses go over it, but Mr. Riley from the school had informed me that a lot of parents use that to drop off. So we're going out in the morning to make sure everything's blocked off for school. And they are, actually the school has called in a certified welder to fix the gas line tomorrow. And then I'm gonna call the supervisor back. They wanted to just put rock in it, then he said they'd cold patch it, and I told him absolutely not. We will not accept but it to be paved back. So it might be that we end up doing it, or we get someone to do it, he has no one to do it. So,
Why in the world would they do that without permission?
he said
I mean,
he
that-
didn't know he had to have permission, and he didn't know there's gas line there, although it says on all the poles down through there,
Did he not
gas.
Did he not,
call,
call-
the number?
did he not
I
call
mean, that
it?
almost,
Bobby
now,
doesn't
that's close to being criminal, I think.
I mean, that's,
Who is the company? Well, I guess, wait a minute. Who employed the company?
I think that guy said Spectrum,
Okay,
so,
so we're shut off now,
yes, everything's fine right now,
okay.
but,
And you guys will be there in the morning, make
Yeah.
what,
everything
what,
run
Yeah.
what is the, repercussions of not calling before you dig? I mean,
think it's
because the situation is just what you said,
No.
we're sitting there with a company that just dug under a road beside of a school full of children
Yeah,
and
it's
hit a gas line.
criminal money offense,
And, well,
but that's, DIG has to,
well,
take that
has-
up with them.
Has anybody contacted
I
dig?
think Bobby has,
Okay.
the
I
school.
think she has some info.
Well, I just knew that there was a monetary
Yeah, there's a
fine
monetary
involved,
fine.
because there's one guy that came in and says, oh no, I'm calling 811 this time. If I hit one of their lines again,
Should
it's a
we notify
$10,000 fine.
I
Should
think
we
Mr.
know?
Riley from the school has, Bob Riley.
Bob uses
Yeah, because
So they
it hit theirs
notify.
and they also lost several hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, of gas. See, it's the school's gas line.
Mhm.
So,
So
anyway,
it's been reported.
it's been reported and everything, but I wanna
Okay.
let you know, so someone
Thank
doesn't
you.
tell you and you guys not know.
Thank you.
Well, we
I
can
think
be,
you probably need to work with Bob or Josh or somebody with our county attorney, cause
yeah,
I think they need to be in the loop and knowing, hey,
Yeah, I
there's
could
some-
send an email
there's
out
some
to them.
liability here.
Okay.
And I'm guessing the school attorney probably on that too.
I
probably.
would imagine,
I would
yeah,
think.
cause that, when I walked out earlier, that was him again from the school calling again, so.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to us.
Yeah,
I hate the bad news.
yeah, I thought that was bad. The,
well, it could've been a lot worse.
yes, it
Oh,
could have been a lot
really
worse.
could've.
Could have been a lot
Yeah.
worse. The second thing is, do you remember the railroad grant? We got a railroad grant for them
Is
to
that
come
for the
in and do the
training?
crossings.
Yes,
To do
yes,
the, paint the crossings.
yes, yes.
Well, for some reason, I don't know if you didn't vote, but we can't find that you voted for it. So Teresa can't pay it because we don't think or can't find that you voted for it. So in order to pay a claim, it was $0 for us,
Mhm.
period. It was $12,600.
I do.
They did the work, they gave it to you, that's it. But she needs to put that in the urgent claims Friday, but in order to do so, I need you to make a motion that you accept the grant and to pay that claim this
Cause
Friday.
I went back through the minutes and all we could find was that in public comments, you didn't have anything on the agenda that night. You just said, hey, we got our award for that $12,600,
And we
Starting
actually
This
applied in
was-
19,
This was the grant that we got that we didn't know we got.
no, that's not.
Oh, that was another one.
we have said.
This one actually was in 19, so to think that we would have remembered
I'll
anyway,
make a
but I would
motion.
need your signature on the,
to
Motion's
ratify
been
the
made
grant
to accept
application.
the $12,600 grant. No county match to this. It's for 4 railroad crossings under county jurisdiction. Paint and install new crossing signs. And we also needs to say that, to allow the urgent claim payable this Friday?
right, yes.
Okay. So, motion is made by Mr. Jones, and you second. I'll make it unanimous.
Then I, talked to the council the other day, and I don't know if I've mentioned it to you all yet, I think I have individually, but, thank you. I've contacted the state about the CARES Act, where the money can go, and we have, obviously had to separate employees ourselves, because we have groups of 3 that work together. So, I have emails from the state stating that, to pay for a brush cutter and also a hot box that can be used by an individual because it's a dump style, that they will cover within the CARES Act. So I know different people at the meetings I've been at coming up here and saying, we've got this for the CARES Act, we got this for the CARES. And I did ask the council, and they did say you all are the ones over the money. But I would need permission from you all to buy those things in order to give Tammy the invoice, which I can get immediately.
And I learned a little bit today about some of the ways to submit, because if you have a quote and it's got the details on the quote, we can go ahead and submit that quote with the proper documentation, and then if they approve it, we just wait for the check. So we're learning a little bit as we go through this process. Some things we've already obviously spent, so we're gonna just have to ask for reimbursement. But I'm finding out that if it's a bigger piece of equipment, or there's something that is approvable, there's a guy at the IFA, Indiana Financial Assistance Department up there, that we can kind of talk to.
That's probably who I emailed, because he
Yes.
emailed back and said, that is approved on the list. However, when you submit it, put me a little bit more in there. That you
Yes.
used to have 3 in a truck, now we're trying to send them out individually,
Yes.
and he said we
Yes.
would have no problem. But again, we have quotes on, and the decision's yours. I asked the workers, would they rather have a brush cutter or another side mower? They all said brush cutter, because you can still do both with it. We got a quote from Wayne for $121,395, and we got a quote from Kubota for their quote's $135, but I'm gonna get them down to $127. But anyway, I know it's $6,000 more, but we would kinda like to try the Kubota. The city of Scottsburg just bought one, and the city of Austin is looking at the exact same machine. Obviously, I'm not a mechanic, I don't know the fancy details of it. I do have the quote here if you would like to see it.
I would like to see it.
Is that, I'm just curious, that's a pretty good chunk of money, that's something we just take by quote, we don't have to bid that or anything?
Correct, you do
Yeah,
not,
Because,
because it's not up to the money amount.
yeah.
It has to be over $150,000.
oh, gotcha, okay.
On the, are you leasing this?
No, it would be paid through the CARES Act, straight out.
Well, if it's paid for with the CARES Act, that $6,000 doesn't make a big difference, does it? I mean,
From what I've heard, and I don't know, I haven't heard that you've had enough up here yet to spend that money.
no, I
Maybe I
mean,
just haven't been.
I mean,
It's-
if somebody else is
there's
paying
other
for it, it doesn't make a
departments.
difference if it's.
Correct,
Do we
as
have
much
a
as if you
list?
were,
I mean,
absolutely.
Of what, do we have a list of monies that, and you said a minute ago that some's been paid out of that, what's been paid out of that so far?
Well, we're collecting receipts right now
They
to
haven't been
send for a
anything paid.
reimbursement. We've not had any monies collected from the CARES yet. There's
Mhm.
774,000 earmarked for Scott County.
But how much have you turned in?
We're collecting right now
Oh,
to
so you're
turn
turning
in.
it.
So, but the claims that we would have right now wouldn't even start to touch the 774. But I had not just one department, I've got other departments coming to me with huge dollar amount ideas for expenditures that are covered according to their contacts. So, that may be where you all come in. We might need to gather some of
I'm
this
here.
information together.
I'm here and mine's covered.
Yes, first in line, right?
Well, no, but I'm gonna tell you, in the past 3 weeks, you all 3 of you know what we've been doing. We've been mowing. And if not every other day, every day, 2 mowers at least have been down to where we had to borrow the cities. Now it's down. I mean, something's been down every day, if not more than one. So a mower is huge. I also had already previously talked about if we did get to have the auction, I was gonna try to put that towards a mower. So I'm just trying to make my
I mean,
claim
what
for
are
the
you, what
dollar.
dollar amount are you talking about?
$135,000.
$135,000.
Well, you said you could
It'll
get,
be
Well,
$127.
that's on the mower and the tractor, what's the amount on the hot box?
36, 134,
Okay, so you're looking at about, probably a hundred.
$160,000, $170,000.
$170,000.
$170,000.
I guess my question I have is, since Tammy, you said something that other department, what has other departments been doing that they're turning stuff in on That's
It's not turned in yet, it's the same position she's in right now, until they get a few more details worked out, that they would be talking to you about other equipment, and I don't wanna, cause they're not here, so I don't wanna talk about it, but
Well, I
it's
mean,
similar to
I
this.
guess I'm trying to figure out who,
Yeah.
you know, there's only the health department, the highway department, and everybody else is in this building besides the sheriff's department, so.
Most of the other things that we're talking about that we've already spent, they're small dollar items, you know, they're a few repairs, there's a few modifications like the glass in my office, the glass in planning commission. Supplies, things like that, that's gonna be maybe tens of thousands, but not hundreds of thousands. So that's what, I mean, we have very nominal expenses right now, but I've also got departments like now Jill and another department that's got some big dollar ideas that we're hearing could be approved. So again, she is here, so she is asking, so that's again up to you guys.
But that's your, it's your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that, I'm looking at here is the specs. Undoubtedly, this 65 horsepower tractor, is that gonna be enough to run that thing more?
I mean, that's what both cities ordered, and they have theirs already.
So you've been using it?
No, we used their old one. We didn't ask to borrow their brand new one.
So have you
We
heard
used their
from
one that's
them?
40, they love it.
Have you heard from Jason or
Yeah,
somebody
loves
that
it.
says that it's working for them?
Yeah.
Well, if it's working
Two of
for
ours
them,
went
then it
down
ought to
and
work
used
for us.
Now, our previous one, you know, it works too. For some reason, and we don't have to, you know, we can go right back to the kind we had, which is $6,000 cheaper. For some reason, the workers said they would like to try to vote it. We don't care.
Well, I know people's got them. I mean, my son's got one. It's-
They're good. I mean, they're good. The only thing is what I'm talking about is sometimes you may wanna look at that because I don't know if Kubota has gone through that now or not, but I know at one time, if you went above a 90 horsepower tractor with Kubota, it did not come with the, this is sometimes,
Steering wheel.
sometimers kicking in, not all timers.
Warranty.
The fuel, where it, emissions thing,
Oh, your
uh,
DEF system?
DEF system.
Okay.
And that DEF system, I know they was having a lot of trouble with tractors. They was
They
having,
actually took it off a fire truck.
they was having a lot of trouble with that, so that's something you wanna look at. There was a horsepower rating that if you got above that, it was
Okay.
grandfathered that you didn't have to have the DEF.
Okay.
And they seem to be lasting, and, you know, Kubota makes a good tractor, there's no doubt about it, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, we
So,
we
you
don't
know,
care at all. If you'd rather us go with the other one,
yeah.
whatever, just if we can do it though.
So I guess my question here, cause it's pay up front and get reimbursed in the back.
Well,
Actually,
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Now it's, if you turn in a quote and word it correctly with the proper documents with it, they will accept the quote and send the check.
Check, and then they can.
So we could actually
And all these
get
companies
the
are
approval
willing to
prior
work,
to do it.
correct.
Okay.
Again, it would just have to be that I have your permission to spend that money that's
I mean,
under
if
your
we're getting a
jurisdiction.
tractor and a mower out of it, if I've caught heck for anything this year, it's been
The
the
mowing.
mowing.
Oh, I have too, yeah, I mean, and it's something that when,
And
yeah,
I mean, you can't do one thing without catching it from another side. I mean, you can pave the road, but they want the ditch mowed too.
I think, myself, and I think the hot box would be a good idea, because it could, one person could go out and operate it if it's
Yes.
got the dump bed on it.
Yes.
Without, you can't send one
You're
person
talking
out.
about patching it.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can't, you know, if you send it out, the one we've got today, when you're shoveling, you certainly can't send one person out there to shovel all that off, and I mean, at that point, you'd have at
And
least
honestly, if somebody's doing it in his district today, I couldn't send them to
Yeah.
either one of your
Yeah.
districts today too, so.
I mean,
Yeah, I saw
myself,
them at mine
myself,
yesterday.
I don't have a problem with it, I think it makes sense,
Did you get all your roads paved, by the way?
not yet, but we'll let you know.
He was actually, God rest Kelly Robbins' soul, he was actually last this year.
I'm okay with it, I'm more curious, this is for me for next year. I'd like, I don't know how we do it, we hire some workers back or whatever, I'd like to get the stuff mowed. I mean, mine is bad, some of my spots.
You're gonna get it mowed next year because there ain't gonna be no money to pave. So that'll be the only thing done next
So
year.
you don't think there's a problem next year with mowing?
No, because there's not gonna be any paving money.
Yeah, you're paying.
Our distribution for August was $34,000.
Okay, well, anyway, my
Well,
point
look,
is the mowing
Yes.
is
Have we heard
important.
anything on the other?
No, haven't heard a word. Of course, it's the second, but
Yeah. Again, I think, this here makes sense to me. I don't have a problem with it. I think if we're gonna do that, I think, it looks more, I mean, I'm gonna take your high side numbers right now.
right.
So I think, myself, I would think $175,000 earmarked for what you're needing would be, that would cover both of them at this point.
To me, the question ain't about needing we wanna do it, not me, the question is more like, what else is there out there that's gonna be important too, that hadn't been even brought to us yet? And you kind of alluded to that a minute ago, I don't know what those things are, but I will say, you know, you're here, where are they
Right,
at?
that's
Well,
right.
but the other part of that is that I read through that CARES Act and what it's eligible for and what it's not, and very few things are eligible to reimburse that we'd ever use. I mean,
And
just
I
like,
have to
just
separate employees.
just
Well, I know we
like
have,
Tammy's
like,
saying, it's
was it 700?
PPE and stuff like that, and
34.
you can't buy enough PPE to.
I don't know
put that
what all we got, you
Yeah.
can't use, but I wanna make sure we use every drop of it we can use.
Right, and that's what Ida said the other day at the
Yeah.
council
Yeah.
meeting, is to make sure,
It would be like a shame to
right.
walk out there and still have $500,000 we didn't touch.
And we have to do this by the end of the year, correct?
Right, and if they allow this safer approach to where we send up our quote
Quote.
and everything, you guys are basically saying, just give me the money, and if you'll approve it, then we know we can spend it, because we're gonna get the money.
Right.
So then, we're not kind of going out on a limb like we thought we were gonna have to in the beginning,
Well,
for
just,
some of these big ticket items.
just without having to say who or what or where, is there anybody else got any quotes like this gonna be coming up?
170,000?
Is that a yes? Okay, so, that's actually good, we know some people's gonna try to use the money.
And I think we'll still have a little bit left over even with what I anticipate they might want.
Okay,
Okay, so I did kind of a little scratching over here whenever you were
Okay.
talking, and I think we'll
But we're
have
still not
sufficient
Good, I
enough
can
to,
buy another piece.
but we're still not closing on that 750.
we're a lot closer with what I anticipate could be coming
Okay.
down the pipe of
All right.
spending almost all of it.
Okay. Well, I wanna spend it all.
Yeah.
Well, I'm okay with this, I just think there's the other question there, we don't know what else is out there and hadn't been brought to us, so.
And I don't have any
Okay.
certainty on it,
Yeah.
right now, and so I just got pitched something today, and that's why we found out that we can do the quote thing and move forward that way. So that's a beneficial thing, because we don't have to go on that limb and wonder if we're gonna be stuck with a bill that wasn't approved.
I'm just curious, I know you said we're not gonna make money last year, and this is
Next
reading the local newspapers, but over in Washington County, their manager over there said they're gonna get just about the same amount of road paved next year as they got this year, so
I
it's
want to
something
know
different.
how.
Okay, I'm just curious, if you had any inkling.
Yeah, idea how much of
I
that.
like
Hey,
to-
did
I
you-
like-
No, they said miles, he said they had
2
like
miles?
45 miles they did last year, and I should expect to get that again next year.
If,
I'll
I'd
sure
say,
contact them and
I would
ask
like,
how.
yeah, I'm curious myself, it was in their local paper.
I would think it would be, they're probably counting on the, community
If they're
crossing.
counting on the community
Community
crossing,
crossing, that's
Well,
what,
that
hey,
hasn't been
hey,
approved.
And it didn't say,
Okay.
yeah.
so I got.
And that's what we're
Would
anticipating.
you please? Seriously?
Eating one for
Okay.
tomorrow, so.
Yeah, yeah, I'd like to know.
Do, I hear a motion to allow her to, at least send the quote up to them and see.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
All right, so, the motion's been made for the tractor and mower and the hot box, and amount of what, up to 175,000, you okay with that? And, you good with that, Mike?
Yeah, I'm good.
Second, I'll make it unanimous.
Let me have that quote back if you don't care. Just read that. Okay, do you guys have anything else for me? Comment, but make sure John sees that.
Is the mower quote yours?
More quotes. Mm-hmm, that's
Yeah,
right.
just that
That's
was on
okay,
there.
the new mower quote,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
No, I think that's good.
We will be paving, the 8th, when we come back from,
Okay,
holiday or whatever it is.
okay.
On that, there's a form that we have to fill
Okay.
out that goes ahead for that, so get with us.
I'll get with you in the morning,
Yeah,
and get
that'll be
the, okay. Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Monthly claim consideration, monthly claim consideration for, August. Do y'all have a chance to look at these and see that?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion made, second.
And there's one little tiny note in there, our Shred-it service, they messed up one of our bills and short billed us. Actually gave us a credit and we weren't due one, so we modified, there's a pink sticky note, you can see right there, Bob, as you turn that page.
Yeah,
Where we did modify that, she'll send the other check out in urgence on Friday, but there's a slight change to that one, I did wanna make you aware of that.
so,
So if Michael, please a motion to with the amended Shred-it,
Yeah,
will approve,
yeah.
thank you.
second.
Made unanimous,
I'll make it.
second, whatever.
Yeah, unanimous.
Unanimous, Mr. Thomas.
And then, payroll ratification for, let me get that back to John here. And give that back to her. And then the ratification for State Board of Accounts for Tammy. I hear a motion to sign.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
unanimous.
Wipe that down, big there.
Did we, receive, I seen the, I don't think maybe I didn't read this right.
I bet whenever I emailed that, I just hit the commissioner's box and didn't do, your extra email. And there's the minutes. You want a copy? I apologize for that, because I usually try to remember to do that.
Consideration for the minutes here, yeah, I did see
You beat you?
these. Do I hear a motion on the minutes? To
I'll make a
approve?
motion.
Mark made it, John second. You want this one signed here?
Oh, no, I've got in the book.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
we'll wait
right,
for the
we'll
book.
do that, okay. And that's it. Quotes for mowing county properties.
Is it?
You've already seen this. This is a draft. I've got to have this turned into the paper tomorrow because of the holiday and getting it in for Wednesday's publication, if that's what you want. Notice to bidders for mowing. That's all the properties that I think you guys alluded to. And we've got the acreages mapped out, and we're just asking for quotes because this is a service, and you can procure services however you desire. This is not a supply problem or a equipment you're purchasing, and it's definitely under 150,000. So, I'm asking you guys, Mike said he wanted, them individual, so there's received separate quotes for the bush hog mowing service of county-owned properties listed below. And then for them to sit, and I'm giving them up to 2 o'clock on Wednesday before your meeting that night, because you'll just take a look at them at your meeting. And I figured you wanted to entertain this by the middle of September, so you can get somebody, pending the weather, that will probably start deteriorating from time to time, out there to mow.
I'm fine with it.
This,
Now, we talked about this, you got the cemetery on here.
No, there's not cemetery. Pigeon Roost site. I just got Pigeon Roost site. There's about 2.75 acres around Pigeon Roost that's not the cemetery.
Okay, you got it written on here, but it's not, that's just for the picture.
That's just the picture.
The picture.
Yeah, I've got the 2.75
Okay,
acres
gotcha.
are, right, and then we would make up packets basically just like this and highlight the ones that
Yeah,
are supposed to be, yeah. I'm sorry, John, I didn't clarify that for
Yeah.
you.
okay.
He put everything on there that we had to maintain, and we'll just mark the properties the areas that we want. We can undo that from
And
his.
I suppose the only
impact.
question that we just for this year, I mean, we'll do it again next year, we bid it out again next year. I would assume we would, wouldn't
I
we?
think to me, this would be for next year.
Well, they're gonna do it this year.
You're talking about, I understand
Yeah.
from this I mean, I would hate to think we're gonna bid for a month and a half for someone to mow. I'd rather it extend the
For all
If
end
they
of
want
this
it
year,
next
all
year,
next
if they
year.
do it once, want it next year.
And then,
keep
well,
on.
of course, and that raises the obvious question, how many times next year we're gonna have more? I would assume at least twice.
Well, I think you're right, cause some of these properties probably don't need to be mowed once a week or twice, or
Yes.
bi-weekly or
Yeah.
bi-monthly, I guess I would say. And some of them could be mowed a couple times a year.
I think the landfill would mow it, actually, I think on the landfill, if you mowed it, once a year, it'd probably great.
Okay,
You know,
well,
I think that'd probably, I think we could decide that
For
as,
the bidder's sake, they need to
Yeah,
know.
but they need to know that, I think.
I think at that point, I would say, you know, I would say let's let them bid it, per time, what they would want to
Yeah.
bid, and that way they, if
Yeah,
they
they
did
would,
it once.
they need to know what our
Yeah.
expectations are though.
The pigeon roost right here, I think that's probably one that you would mow probably at least once a month.
Well, let's just put that in the ad.
Well,
then.
no,
Let's
hang
just-
on here though, cause right now, we're talking bush hogging. When you
Yes.
get talking about mowing, that's a different,
Well, bush hogging and mowing.
Well,
the
if
same.
we're doing it once a month, that's mowing.
Not really, not really. I think if you bush hog it, well, you know, again, if you get it bush hogged down, you know,
Well, the tri-hawk property, I think
that needs to be, you know, that needs to be kept down. A tri-hog property. We paid the, you know, but I think you could probably you could bush hog it twice in the summer and be fine. You know, I don't see any need to go.
So, if I
once.
wanna say, times per year, estimated times per year, and then put that in the ad, so like on your double or nothing, which is your transfer station, that would be approximately 2 times a year
I'd say once.
I'd say
You know,
once.
on
and,
that one?
You know, and you could almost say, tell us what you're gonna do it for, and if we want it done more than once, we'll tell you. You come in, we'll do it for that price.
Yeah, I think you're just bidding it to mow, you know, right now, I think you're just bidding it to mow at one time, you know, I mean, for this fall.
And then we'll do it
Because, you
again.
know, we're sitting here, and whether we like to believe it or not, I'm gonna say, less than 45 days out from a killing
Yeah.
frost hitting this part of the
Yeah.
country. You know, whether, we don't like to think that, but it's usually by October the 10th to the 15th, we usually have our first killing frost in this part of the country. So, with that being said, I would say, you know, let's bid it for this,
This fall?
this
then?
fall with the understanding is, because, you know, first of all, I think we almost bid this thing, you know, what happens if fuel prices raise
Mhm.
between now and
That's only if
May.
the Democrat wins.
May? Well, you may be surprised. You know, I mean, if fuel prices go up, or whatever, so, I mean, I don't have a problem bidding it out for a year, you know, we can take a quote from
Yeah,
now until
I'd
next
be-
year this time, and we
I'd
can,
be kinda curious if you say, cause the mowing season's almost over, so you may not even get anybody to bid any of it.
Let's, I'd vote for doing it once, and then we can revisit next spring probably.
you know, I'm fine with that, or bidding
those
it for a
prices
year
could
from this date, you know, and here's what we're gonna do, you're gonna mow it right now, and then we'll tell you how many times, you know, but
Yeah.
whatever time, if we tell them to mow it twice, they're gonna get paid just like this
Whatever
first
they
time,
bid.
whatever they
If
bid,
they
the
have
same
a-
price,
Yeah.
yeah. If they mow it once, and it'd just be one more time, but that's what I would suggest.
And they need to have some form of insurance, be responsible for their, if they hit something, break it, they have that.
That's on them, like, if you,
Well, I mean, we need to have it written down.
I'm trying to figure out your map here, though,
Okay,
so you're gonna have to help me with this.
okay. Which one?
Is,
The little square.
That,
over
like
there in
on
the
Pigeon
red.
Roost here, the, what you got in red?
Okay, ignore the one on the bottom, cause that's a cemetery. The
Oh,
ones that
okay.
we're talking about is the 1.02 and the 1.82.
You should only have one.
There's a
There-
patch
this-
over here.
this-
We mow, the only thing that should be in the bid is what's on the side by the railroad track. We mow the
Right there.
other.
You mow that,
so
Who-
you mow the park technically.
you mow the Memorial Park.
Correct.
Well,
Okay, so
the
then
last
I need to
meeting you
change that
mentioned
to
we get
one.
them to do this.
Not for the memorial.
Here.
This
I'm
is
not
all
talking
I'm
about
talking-
memorial,
now-
I'm talking about
now
the-
my
on
ad's
the
moving
south
down to
end,
this.
yeah. That's what
We
she's
just,
got.
he just
Oh, she said
showed,
she had
he was
two.
just showing you guys
She
what
does.
you've got. We'll modify this to what you tell me.
Yeah, well,
you
the
need.
area that we're talking about mowing here,
It's probably
is right here.
Around 25.
Where you go around that curve, that's one of them. And then the other is out here in the front of Pigeon Roost. There's two
Yeah.
areas there that they do not mow, right? And that is when you first come in, on the left, as you come, before you
Yeah.
go around the
Yeah.
curve, there's I don't know, an acre or two there, and then what's out in front of Pigeon Roost.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
didn't,
saying
I
this
didn't know
down
that.
here
Mm-hmm.
On the
Is
state
ours?
highway,
Huh?
on the state highway? that
No,
section?
see, that's what I'm trying to figure here on this.
He's saying here.
After you cross the railroad tracks, before you go around the curve into Pigeon Roost, there's that field on the left there.
Correct.
Yes, and then there's,
That's the
should
part I was
be,
talking about.
now, should be, and I'd have to
You
look,
do
see,
not know.
see, some of this is wooded area, but how much of this do we actually own between the highway and Pigeon Roost
And the railroad
Right
track,
there.
and the
I'm
railroad?
assuming
We
that
have
triangle
this
you got there is all ours, isn't it?
Okay,
but
so prior to the railroad track?
So right here.
that's my understanding.
No, here. This is
Down here.
31, right?
This is 31.
Okay,
So you're saying right here-
everything from 31 back belongs, in my opinion, ours. I think that's all ours. And that,
if you guys,
But so
I
is
will
this.
figure this out.
now, with that being said, I don't know how much the state highway,
We mowed right here.
again, but I think I think we gotta figure all out to mow all of it.
Well, I've got the deed and the survey in my office.
Okay.
So
Well, it's like you said, if the state highway comes in and mows to the track or to a tree line there.
But they
that's-
haven't. You know, they haven't.
So we could be talking about this area, and this area.
Yes, yes.
And that's why I brought all this to you, because
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
we're just
Yeah,
guessing
yeah.
you're a part of this.
Yeah, you're good. And,
Okay.
then the Tri-Hawk property, that's exactly right on that up there. What did we figure how many acres that was? Did you measure that? You didn't, did you?
22,
There's 22 acres in there?
that, in that clearing, no, I'll
Okay.
say, no, that's not, yeah, that's right, 22 in that clearing.
Okay.
And then the health department, there's a little over 3 acres behind the health department.
No,
No, there's more than that. 7.
it's 2 parcels.
Yeah, there's 2 parcels there.
Maybe that's 3 and 3, no. See how big the health department, that parking lot is?
2 parcels. We argued about that when Verizon was putting the tower up.
Yeah, that's,
Well,
There's
But
7
it-
and 7.3, and it's all ours.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, he mapped that, and he mapped those 2 parcels,
And
and he's
actually,
come
that's
up
not
with
right.
3 acres.
There's 7 acres there.
Total, between the highway and the back parcel. And the health department itself takes up a little smidge more than half of that, 7 acres, 7.75. And he's got that map, 7 and 7.3 together is 3.12 acres.
No, I'm saying you're wrong.
well.
Well, I'm just,
okay,
that's just the
a-
GIS mapping, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not me, it's the GIS map. And the,
Because actually that dip in there, when they came in, they said, oh, it's right, we're gonna put that tower this side of the ditch. And I said, we own all the way back, so I don't know what the 7 and the 7.3 is, but I
That's
think
just
it's,
the
I
numbers
think
that
it's 7
reference,
acres. yeah.
that's just a reference number, 7 and 7.3. is
that's a
right?
map number.
Map number,
And it may be 3 acres, but
See that red line he's got drawn around with the
it
red
actually
box?
probably is 3 acres back there,
Yeah.
but it's 2 parcels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, yeah,
Yeah.
cause those numbers are confusing, cause it's not acreage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His red line is your acreage with the
You're
red box.
you're probably pretty close there.
But on the John Jones, you do have the ditch line out front plus what's in the back, so.
Well, and the sheriff's taking care of that out front,
Yeah.
you asked me that
Okay.
earlier, and I don't know why he wouldn't keep doing it.
Where I'm a little confused is the last one, and that's EMS.
Well, I will say he stopped down to garage this week and said that he would bring his own in and do it, so
Who
Who's
did?
that?
the new director.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I take him up on it.
Well, but they won't mow that all the way in the back. I can't imagine that.
I
But-
don't, he just said he had one.
There's a half acre.
You know, and I
back
don't
there.
have a problem with that,
Yeah.
except for I just think it's our responsibility. If he uses, you talking about using his own mower?
That's what he said.
I wouldn't, I mean, I do appreciate that, but I think we better do it.
Just go ahead and.
He
So
wants
if I modify the acreage we've got
Yeah,
at Pigeon
absolutely.
Roost site, and we map those other little areas and throw off the cemetery and throw off the memorial site, correct?
Yeah,
Then you'd be okay if I adjust that, and is this ad basically okay except for Pigeon Roost now?
yeah,
Then I can check that and we can redo the acreage?
yeah. I'm good with it.
Well, Jill thinks some of this down through here is our property too.
That's what,
Bob
yes,
does too.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take a
Yeah,
look
that's
at
what
it
we'll look
and
at.
we'll
Okay.
modify.
But yeah, as far as that,
accordingly.
when you modify that, yeah, but you.
I never,
yeah,
till you told me, I never even thought about that being our property.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
And I've got the survey back in the office.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that is.
Well, good.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, I don't know, and being down there and, mowed the cemetery, and I'm looking, and my thought, and this, and I think John certainly had the same thought, is that wooded area between the actual memorial and the cemetery, there is about, and even out into the, that memorial area right there, there are some dead trees that need to come down. And,
Yes.
in that wooded area, there's probably 4 or 5 in there, and I'm just, again, me, I think somewhere along the line, we have the equipment, dozer, excavator. I think that, we might wanna think about cleaning that out. We don't have to do it right now, but sometime over the winter, making a project out of that, cleaning that out, and, get some grass down in there, and I think it's gonna, you know, if we're gonna have something, I think we ought to make it look as good as we possibly can look. And I just think that would be something that we could probably do. And, I have no problem donating a weekend doing it. I'm not expecting the county highway to go do it, but I think we have the equipment that even if we, you know, wanna, I have no problem going down and running equipment over the weekend, and one weekend, I think we can clean that up, so I don't have, you know, but, I just think, you guys take a look at it, see what you think, but
No
just,
telling what's back in there.
just something to throw out, you know, so, anyway, all right.
So with your consensus, can I go ahead and put that in, do you want it in the Herald and do you want it in the Crothersville Times? Both papers, if I can get it in there?
I don't think it matters. I mean,
Yeah, well,
And put it
I
on the
think,
county website?
I think, yeah, I'd put them both, no big, I'd put them in both, it ain't, that ain't that much. I would do that.
So to clarify what you're talking about just to finish out 2020. And then
think so.
rebid it in 2021.
I think so. You know,
Or if your vendor's willing to continue, then you could tell them how many times you want it to, if they're still agreeable in 2021. They can just continue, because
You
it's a
know,
service, and you guys don't have to bid this.
I think it's good for us to see their work. If we're happy with their work or not. And it's about money, but it's also about how good a job they do.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have to rebid it, we could just renegotiate with the people who are doing it
Yeah.
at that point, I think.
And it
Yeah.
ought to be not as difficult for them next year. They gotta kind of knock down, I mean, that landfill's pretty rough.
We'll have to mow it and not mow it.
And when I'm talking landfill, I'd like to also have all that brush cleaned out right up at the entrance. You guys seen that? That's, you know, that's why I get more complaints on that than the rest of it. But anyway, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept, however this is written or with the modifications for, Pigeon Ridge. Pigeon
And I'll
Ridge.
second it, and also that it's to go on both papers. Need bid on that, need that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine, yeah, that's fine. I'll make that unanimous.
Like to get it done.
Okay, you
Quicker
can
the
too.
better.
All right, what, the restriction of home addresses, what is that?
Okay, Indiana code has now allowed for, in the highlighted section in the middle, these particular individuals to have, what do you say, anonymity on internet sites that are ran by political units. So in other words, I as an elected official, or you as an elected public official, past or present, can ask to have, when we get, and the only site we're talking about here is our GIS Think Map, WTH, that you get online and look, all the public can see, not our client version, but the public version of our mapping GIS website that we maintain, that any of these people, in this list, and it's very limited, can ask for, to be anonymous and their parcels not be identified on a public website. So you guys are the keepers of the agreement with WTH, and we just have to have official approval in a meeting that you will allow WTH to adhere to Indiana code with your agreement, and that if we get a request, and we have about 6 pending right now, people that do not want their name on their property record or their address displayed that are in one of these particular positions on the internet.
And by doing this doesn't mean people's automatically cut off the,
No.
it just means if somebody comes in and requests. then
Well,
they can
if
get
they're
taken off
at
the
home
map.
trying to find where somebody lives, they cannot do it through our ThinkMap system if you guys approve this. And by Indiana code, you're supposed to not allow any of your public databases to have that. Now, our database inside here is different than the internet. I mean, they would have to physically come in here and work our system versus being able to sit at home and start obtaining addresses of different officials and.
All it does allow us, if we
It
create the
doesn't-
ordinance, they can, these people can
It's a
request.
deterrent for people, if you can't just sit at home and easily find out where somebody lives. If this person requests
But until they request it, it's right there.
it's out there until they request it.
I think it's a good idea.
And obviously, you can see there are some people that are participants in witness protection programs and some different things, and if they own,
To me, it's-
property in their name, then they want to be anonymous on these.
To me, it's another layer of security, and
It
that's the way
is.
I look at it
It's-
for
and it's a
certain people in
deterrent, it's
sensitive
not-
positions.
It's not a fail-safe for
Yes.
them, but it's one level that they can't just go easily get from
I'll
home.
make a motion.
I'll second
I mean, they have to ask for it,
it,
so
that's correct.
That's right.
I'll make that unanimous.
I wanna know where Bob lives.
But he hasn't requested, so you can get on.
I
there
mean,
and
they can
find
still
it.
on the map and see properties, they just don't know
After I
who they
go
belong to.
Through that barns out there,
Yeah.
it pops up on the hill.
Yeah. What do you need on our part, anything?
Just permission in an open meeting, so I can
That's-
tell
you got it.
WTH that
You
we're
got
good to
it.
go. They can change our agreement and
Alright,
knock those things off there.
Okay. I've seen all I need to see.
Okay.
I don't have a clue what that is. I mean,
Same thing.
what's Common Core, I mean,
Community corrections.
oh. Oh, okay,
and he's, asking to,
yeah, that's fine. I don't know what the
Van Willis to
situation is.
investigate that. Motion by Mike, second,
Second.
make it unanimous to retention of Van Willis for legal consultation. Okay, that brings us to kind of to the end here. I think I covered mine, but Jerry was here, so anything on your part?
I'll probably think of something soon if somebody brings something up, but no, I don't.
I
no.
already brought up what I was gonna.
That's kinda like me, I think I pretty well covered. Anything on your part?
Yes,
You're
sir.
too late. Go ahead.
That was at the beginning.
Yeah, I asked at the beginning of it, and you was here,
It took me till this long to remember.
naturally.
Members of Main Street, Scottsburg Main Street, I know you guys haven't discussed Halloween, you know, if you're going to have an observance or anything. Main Street is kicking around the idea, we always had the haunted downtown for the last, 8, 9 years. It doesn't look good to have it this year, and we wanted to let all three entities, all three governments know that we probably will not have haunted downtown. The liability insurance, we let ours lapse this year because we haven't been doing anything. And to get that back again would cost quite a bit of money. And it just seems like a couple of activities that have been held here in the county, people are ignoring the face mask request, and we would just not like to be part of another spike in November. Let's put it that way. So, probably we will not have, on downtown here in downtown Scottsburg.
And I do have something now. I knew if you give me a
Thanks,
minute,
Marty.
I'd think of something.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Marty. But you got me thinking, Marty.
Oh dear.
It's on the museum now. I'm going back. We want people to know those new booklets we have are
Yes.
available.
Yes.
Plus, something I think will attract even more people is we have several of Dr. Bogardus's books now we're selling down there.
Correct.
Everything from the Austin, the Pigeon Roost to the different things. So I bought some last night, and I've read them some before, but they're just all loads of history there
Mhm.
for anybody in our community who wants to know a little more about Scott County, Pigeon Roost, the whole bit. So that's what I want. I was
So-
promoting our museum to have this stuff. And those-
So the museum is offering these for sale down there?
$10 a book.
Okay. All right.
That's for the Bogardus books,
Okay.
and there's 3 or 4 of those, I don't remember.
Yeah,
And,
there might be as many
I don't-
as 5 of those.
I'm not sure how they acquired those, they get those from the library?
We received those as a gift from the library. They had held them for several years and then determined that, well, we need to give those to the museum. And so they gave it to us with the understanding that we would sell them and use the money to keep our doors open, which we are applying, well, we have applied just this past, in the past couple of days for another COVID grant to keep our doors open
I think
because,
they just got 5.
well, we got 5 back early and we are almost to the end of that $5,000. So
Yeah.
we really need to get an additional grant to keep our doors open.
Well, I just wonder, I know our museum's working really hard, and they're like everybody else, that you're operating with no much encouragement right
Exactly.
now.
We have had no events,
Yeah.
period. We feel like we're lucky to have our doors open, that if somebody would want to come in with their children, they are able to do that and do a tour and,
But however, the farmer's market's been fantastic down there.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
gone over
they,
tremendously
they
well.
have had such good crowds since they moved
And selling out,
Saturdays.
they're
Yeah.
selling out, and,
A lot of
Oh,
people,
Don't get down there at 11,
Yeah.
because there'll be a lot of them gone.
yeah.
a lot of people, like I said earlier, a lot of people is kind of standoffish about going indoors, with
We
crowds,
discussed,
but on the outside, with, by adhering to the state guidelines of 250 or less, they seem to be fine, they feel like they're safer outside, and probably are, so that's not been a big problem. Let me ask you, we talked about this when we talked to, actually the Visitors Commission, and I don't, have we got anything back on, we talked about installing signs at some of the, Scott County's full of history. And we talked about putting signs up at some locations throughout the county, and I specifically talked about the Bovar family. I talked about the Mason Mitchell, where he was buried at. Also, slips my mind right now again, but several places that we talked about putting signs up, and I've never heard back. Have you, any of you guys heard anything on that?
I have not personally, but the PAI just got to meet as a board last night for, since.
since June.
And I know,
No, since,
We
it's
had
been
minutes
since
for June.
April.
I know that, this, COVID times is,
We had
lots of
one
things get lost in the shuffle right now, so anyway.
I do have one last thing, Tammy, what's the
I'm
meeting
gonna
tomorrow
bring up
with
something else real
the
quick.
election board or,
It's about the
tomorrow.
in-office voting.
I guess my
and where the
question
sign
is it an official meeting where 2 commissioners can be there, or 3 commissioners can be there?
I think so.
It's posted, I think, does she have it posted? I don't know, because I wasn't part, I just got invited.
I think she,
So-
it in the paper, wasn't it? Maybe not, maybe not. The
We can check.
clerk.
Speak with the election
It's at
board.
3 o'clock tomorrow here,
Yeah.
so I'm okay here, so it's fine.
What I was gonna ask about is, I think you even might have got this same, it's not a complaint, but it's in front of Vienna Fire Department.
Correct.
The mortgage raiders thing, there's two of them. And the one is so worn out, you can't even read it from the screen. And I was wanting to know and I'm a history going guy,
You
forgive
know,
me.
I am still not sure
I would
who
like to
put
get that,
those
I
up.
don't know, well,
Doesn't
it
the
seems
state do
like the
that?
Morgan Trail Heritage probably.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's something, we can contact them and we can do
We're
it.
gonna have to.
It's just brown. And there's
Okay.
so much history. A lot of people stop and see that stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think me and you and I can work on that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll do that.
One of the things that, I will say on the, I was telling you, I told a story in here about a Mason Mitchell. You know, I've lived here all my life, didn't know that story. Which, actually Nate Love, done some research on that, and he did trace that back to the Mitchells, Arthur Mitchell family here was, that would have been great grandfather of his, I believe it was, or something of that nature. So they do, I mean, it did tie into the history of the Mitchells here in this community.
AC?
AC and Arthur, they was descendants of this Mesa, and of course he was a fighter for General George Washington. Very interesting read on that, very interesting. I wish somehow we could make that more accessible. I mean, I never realized it until it brought to my attention, and once I did, he's buried on Terry Road. That's where he's buried at there.
I didn't know till last night, Jeannie Carlisle was telling us, she has like a cloth the guy wrapped in was that Valley Forge,
Yeah,
and we have it down there. I always thought that was amazing. Documented, I think, where it came from Valley Forge, was it resident Scott County now? But we have it anyway.
And that I'm not
That's just-
sure
that's
about.
not- Sometimes I don't think we understand what we do have down there, value-wise. Anyway, that's it. I got on my little history for it.
All right, motion made to adjourn, second,
Second.
unanimous, we are adjourned.
Still didn't make your timeline.
Still didn't make it, did it?
I thought we did pretty good.
Not bad.
Well,
We're only about 50 minutes late today.